Ladies and gentlemen, we move ahead with Dr. W. Selvamurthy oration, and I would request Colonel Parashar to kindly chair the proceedings. He would be joined by Drs. Mona Bhatia and Padma Vibhushan Dr. Purushottam Lal in due course. And our orator this year is Dr. Srinivas Kumar. He is the chairman and of the Cardiovascular Sciences Department and the Chief Cardiologist at Citizens Hospital in Hyderabad, Telangana. This morning he'll be deliberating on STEMI care in India, what changes we need for the next 14 minutes. As this is an oration, we will not be having any questions from the floor. May I request our chairman, Colonel Parashar, to kindly don the medallion and present the citation. Request Dr. Srinivas Kumar to deliver the oration. To help Dr. Kumar be on time, we have a timer straight across. Thank you.
Dr. Selvamurthy was very much associated with this WCC PCI. He was a director of DRDO and he was very actively involved in the various prevention programs and the articles which were published in his name, and he was the right-hand man of our late President Kalam Sahab. So in his name, the very prestigious oration is being given, and I think he's talking on STMI care in India, what changes we need. Thank you.
Respected Chairperson, Professor Parashar, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and pleasure to be standing in front of you to deliver this oration, and I congratulate and thank Dr. Chopra for giving this opportunity. I think there could be no better place than this place for conducting a preventive cardiology program, and very happy to be part of this. What he requested me to speak is something concerned with acute MI care, that is STEMI care in India, primary PCI. As the previous discussion went on, there could be some problems which we face in day-to-day practices of acute MI in primary PCI. But let me tell you, doctor, the physician who are asking, basically, it is not that all patients you have those increased thrombosis and things like that. When the patients land late, where there is huge thrombus burden, you face more of those problems. Not that primary PCI should not be done as a standard of care, that is proven beyond doubt. There are some issues which because of availability and other things, and what is ideal for our country, what are the modifications we need, I would be briefly touching upon. This slide brings best wishes from Citizens Hospital, where we presently take care of our patients. As we know, STEMI management involves a lot of timely decisions, and then what you need to do, the speed of therapy is more important than type of therapy which you are offering to these patients. And we should all understand that all MIs are not the same, and all patients do not respond to therapy in the same form. So it all depends upon, again, most important is time symptom onset, and what type of MI you're dealing with, what is the risk of MI, be it anterior MI or inferior MI, what is the risk of thrombolysis in this patient, does he have risk of bleeding, and then what is the presence of a nearby cath lab facility available for him to be shifted. These are the things by which we decide upon what sort of reperfusion therapy and how is it being done to this patient. Obviously, as we all know, primary goal of treatment is myocardial salvage. Time is muscle. The earlier you act, the more muscle you can save, and our aim of restoration of infarct artery and then preservation of myocardial perfusion. Only thing is we need to have a rapid and complete and sustained method of reperfusion. This in turn reduces infarct size, preserves LV function, and improves survival of these patients. Then if you see reperfusion strategies, thrombolysis proved itself before, streptokinase, later some advancements have come with newer thrombolytics in primary PCI. But probably the best of both the forms of therapy, that is better forms of thrombolysis followed by PCI, could be, that is pharmacoinvasive strategy, could prove beneficial to the patients. And first 2 hours if the patient presents, it is no doubt primary thrombolysis is equally effective. In fact, it can easily deliver to the patient. But I am not here to say that primary PCI is not good. It has proven beyond doubt in many randomized trials, and this slide shows 23 randomized trials where PCI could not only decrease reinfarction rates and deaths, but it also prevented a lot of complications like hemorrhages and shocks happening in these patients. Only the paradox what we face is this, the primary angioplasty, though it is good, it is not freely available. It is available only to be centers, about 5 to 10% of population. Our last NIC data shows only about 4% of acute MIs are presently could be managed by primary PCI. And then that's how the problem, we can't go away and leave this 95% of patients without doing anything. So there is a role of fibrinolysis. But the problems with fibrinolysis is sometimes the reocclusions happen and the opening rates are less. But this is not true within some of these newer thrombolytic therapies which I will be touching upon. Then the real world scenario, even in the best of centers in US and Europe, only primary PCA facilities are being offered in 10 to 25% of patients. And there are challenges in maintaining the door to balloon times in the real world. If you see, there's a lot of transfer delays even in the best well-developed European centers with good transport facilities. So coming back to our topic of discussion, in this background of having problems of primary PCI, then what we should be aiming at, what changes in India could be planning. As obviously the most important I feel is patient education, and patients should reach on time to hospital because that's the most important, and early presentation. And whatever you do, if patient comes very late, 6 to 8 hours after, there will be a lot of thrombus burden and patients will land in trouble. And not only patient education, this sort of forums where a lot of physicians, practitioners meet up, also it is important to have methods of identifying the MIs correctly. And I feel all of treating practitioners, general physicians who are not comfortable in diagnosing acute MIs themselves by ECG could team up with one of your colleague cardiologists and become comfortable in this process of sending the data. Nowadays we have good facilities of internet and WhatsApp available in phone, and then confirm the diagnosis, and then now we suggest you an easy modality of delivering thrombolysis in these patients by newer agents. And then some of the other topics with time I would keep touching upon these. And what is now known beyond doubt is previously where all attention was only on door to balloon time. Now what we want to project and highlight is the total ischemic time, which is more important in these patients. If a patient comes late, if the patients come onset, if the patients come very late, then whatever you do very early after he lands in hospital, still it is a problem. So what we need to target in these patients is to decrease the symptom onset to patient presentation time. And obviously the other things are already being practiced. And then door to balloon time, if they can do it, manage it in the first 90 minutes, patients will have better chances. But obviously the myocardial infarction progression is a rapid process. If you see, if you can't manage these patients in the first 3 hours, then most of the myocardium will be dead. So we have now methods by MRA and others to exactly make out what time the myocardium becomes dead. So what point I wanted to highlight is the total ischemic time is a new concept. That's the gold standard which we need to take in consideration, where obviously the patient education, patient coming in time, physician education, and then probably either thrombolysis or some form of early PCI, if it is available, can be offered. So if you have to decide on whether to thrombolyze or to shift these patients, then it's also important to establish good transfer protocols and have links up with the nearby cath lab facilities. And it's always important, as I said yesterday, we heard from Dadiji and others telling that egos are a big problem, and that shouldn't come in place in communicating and taking opinions from a cardiologist and giving the right thing. And probably you can directly be in link with a primary facility where things could be kept ready, and then you could avoid delays. Then these are some of the places where you can decrease the door to balloon times. And then these are the crucial things. What we propose basically is the ECG, once it's taken on site, nowadays can be communicated directly to the cardiology team and cath lab, then probably you could avoid a lot of delays in emergency departments which happen in many hospitals. These are the traffic conditions which you see in our country. And when we said this, then a lot of people also tried giving pre-hospital thrombolysis. We have data now to show that it is also equally good. So we wanted to, there are advancements with the newer thrombolysis which have come, basically very user-friendly, I would say. Tenecteplase and TPA. And we have some experience with using this new molecule of tenecteplase. The advantage of it is the fibrin specificity and then very short half-life and ease of administration, that anybody who can give an IV injection, give IV-oriented injection, can obviously give this therapy. Then I was told by organizers that because there is some lectures dropout, we could take a little more time. I would proceed a little slowly because then thrombolytic therapy with this tenecteplase is again, I wanted to give confidence to treating physicians sitting here that it can be safely given. And then there is no problems of hypotension monitoring which you were facing with streptokinase before. So this is that way quite helpful. Only precaution is you need to follow it up with giving low molecular heparin or any some sort of antithrombotic therapies because sometimes reocclusion rates could happen. So in this also there are advancements in primary PCI as was dealt by my previous speaker. So we wanted to see whether this sort of thing can it be different in our country. So with all this background information, we now know that within 2 to 3 hours of symptom onset, there's no problem. Thrombolysis also could be given. But patient comes late, then primary PCI still scores over. So with this background, we wanted to see whether this sort of thing, a pharmacoinnovative strategy, communicating with a nearby center, and in the changes in the traffic scenarios where ambulance facilities are not very good in our country, whether it could be done properly or not. So we did a multi-center observational registry in our place where Citizen Hospital being the hub and then other centers of being the spokes where for referring these patients. We wanted to see it can be effectively done in our place and also see the primary objective was obviously to assess the outcomes in these patients and secondary objectives were to see the safety and efficacy parameters of this therapy. Primary endpoint, we wanted to see how many patients were having the open arteries and obviously how many patients improve, how the chest pain resolves, ST segments resolve, and how the LV function is preserved, and what is the mortality and recurrent MI and other complications. Secondary endpoints are basically analyzed for assessing the bleedings and other complications. The study population which we had was 207 patients presenting with chest pain clinics and nursing homes in and around Hyderabad, our place. Then the inclusion criteria was pretty standard of acute MIs. And then exclusion criteria were again risk of bleeding, things like that were excluded. But I would say that hypotension, which was previously taken as a contraindication for streptokinase, now the tenecteplase can be given, and some of these patients had in fact those. So the protocol was then aspirin was given 325 milligrams, and we started with clopidogrel because of non-availability and sometimes some worry of prasugrel being causing more bleeding when you combine it with the thrombolytic therapy. So clopidogrel and then the thrombolytic agent tenecteplase was given 0.5 milligrams per kg, and then it was also followed up by enoxaparin subcutaneous therapy. Then when the patients came to the hospitals where PCI facilities were available, again the thrombectomy and stenting decisions were left to the treating doctor's discretion. LV functions were assessed before pre-discharge and at 6 months, and these were the PCI site, Citizens Hospital, another medical college by which we are attached to the Pratima Institute of Medical Sciences. I thank all the referring doctors and colleagues who have participated in this protocol, and predominantly most of the patients who are from Pratima Medical College. I would also like to mention here that because of the location, Hyderabad being the center of the newly formed Telangana states, it's quite easy to get access to these patients. Any patient can reach here within 2 to 3 hours of the event. So our group is Fax Professional Services which rendered it, the Citizens Hospital, these are all other referring centers. And I thank all my colleagues, a group of 25 cardiologists, we work together for being partners in this and then sending these patients on time. Then follow-up assessments were done. I would take a minute to briefly explain and give confidence to some of the doctors who are sitting here, how it followed. Any patient who comes with acute MI, the ECG is taken. We thank GE for supplying some of these equipment which have net facilities to be transferred. Even if you don't have now with thanks to WhatsApp and more smartphones, you can take ECGs and then send it to your colleague. You see what is very impressive is the time. I specifically highlighted it there. At 11:29 patient comes with ST elevations, and then we say check those ECG and give confidence to treating doctor, give thrombolysis, and then within no time the STs regress and patient improves. This is some scenarios where there were certain deaths before, like young patient coming with acute inferior wall ST elevations, bradycardia and hypotension, blood pressures of 50, 60. Streptokinase we couldn't give a certain death in previous era by the time these patients are transferred. So now we say it is inferior MI, and then we ask them to thrombolyze, tenecteplase is given, and within no time, if you see, 5:44 is that time, and then at 6:50, within an hour, everything settles and patients improve hemodynamically. Then depending upon the convenience and comfort level of both treating doctor as well as patients, patients are being transferred to center with PCI facilities. Then this is another newer patient, acute MI, then which is again post thrombolysis, immediately it improves. So we did collect the data of about 207 patients. Most of them were males. Average age is 49. One more thing which is very worrisome to us is a young patient of 25 also is suffering with acute MI. We do see a lot of young patients, and the thrombotic milieu and the plaque pathology inside is slightly different. That's how we could adapt this technique rather than hanging around doing primary PC for almost all patients. Obviously, most patients were with anterior MI and the window periods varying from 1 to 8 hours. And then invasive findings, this is, I would like to highlight these aspects again. And invasive findings, if you see, about 58 of these patients have already recanalized vessels. Nothing was needed for them for further, but for continuing the dual antiplatelet therapy and statin. And these 88 of them have single vessel disease. Some of them had double vessel and triple vessel disease. So PTCA was done in about 74 patients, and many of them had reasonably preserved ILV functions. And 4 patients died before they are shifted because of problems, because of presentations being late. Thus, we said tenecteplase can be safely given even in peripheral places where without much of ICU facilities. And then it could establish flow in almost all the patients in which were taken for angiogram next day. And then the pharmacoinvasive strategy changed the management plan in 58% of patients. Patients who had recanalized vessels, patients who had multi-vessel disease, all of them would have ended up with a stent if all of them were taken up for primary PCI in the same setting. So this is probably, we could identify some subset of patients, some age group of patients where we could also do good with pharmacoinvasive strategy. I would show 1 or 2 case examples. Sometimes tenecteplase helped beyond the primary PCI. This is a 35-year-old young patient, chronic smoker, presented to our hospital with anterior MI immediately because he's young. We took him up for primary CAG and PCI. Then the large thrombus burden also extending left main to this place. The only way to get away is either to thrombosact and then probably put a stent from left main to LAD. We wanted to see whether we could avoid that and then gave tenecteplase, because mostly we do through radial as mentioned by Vivek. So the problem of obtaining hemostasis is not there now. So we gave tenecteplase, and artery got opened, and we brought him back later next day and checked the entire artery is smooth. Now this young person is without a need for the stent, which otherwise would have been hanging from left main to LAD. So there could be some subsets of patients which could benefit by this, but I would say not all patients you would find like this. Some of them also could be like this. A 50-year-old female inferior wall patient, after it is opened up, you will be left with such tight narrowings where you could be needing stents, and it was successfully taken care. So in other words to say, pharmacoinvasive strategy suits best in our Indian conditions where cath labs are not freely available, but it's always important to give the therapy on time without wasting time in just planning to shift to far-off places. So we propose this model is basically if a patient comes to a place where primary PCI is available, he could go for it. But you need not worry if he comes to facilities like Mount Abu or other places where these are not available. The physicians can still thrombolyze these patients with preferably newer thrombolytic drugs like tenecteplase, and then send these patients. That's about transfer protocols and thrombolytic therapy. And also wanted to, before I close, wanted to touch upon some of these important aspects of pre and post pharmacotherapy, which is being offered to these patients. And then we now know that clopidogrel is good, and we don't use oral anticoagulants anymore. Then PCI cure and others showed. But we also now came to know that prasugrel could be more efficacious, Trilogy ACS trial. The only worry with this is in patients who are having more efficacy endpoints, but there are more major bleedings, especially when you combine it with a setting of thrombolysis. It is not very safer to do it probably. So probably in a stable setting of ACS, it is not, when you're doing for PCI, this is shown in Triton TIMI 38 that prasugrel definitely has superior advantage, and it significantly decreases event rates, MI and strokes and follow-up. but it may not hold good with thrombolysis, we need to see. But probably if you are sitting of thrombolysis where ticagrelor, which has a medium type of action of antiplatelets, it is somewhere in between prasugrel and clopidogrel, could be a useful solution because of its rapid onset of action. But I would like to mention that unless the availability could be a problem, so if you are comfortable using clopidogrel, you can continue and give this molecule. Other important point before I close is to highlight the importance of high-dose statin. Now we have this TIMI 22, various other trials prove it, and many other trials showed that high-dose statin therapy is good. When the lipids were lowered more with atorvastatin 80 mg, there was significant decrease in deaths, non-fatal mortality, urgent revascularization. So it is mandatory for all of us also to give a tablet of high-dose statin and when you are doing this. So presently, I would say that for centers in which it is taking longer time, or when the patient presents early within 2 to 3 hours, you can give thrombolysis. Then for patients who are in cardiogenic shock or who have contraindication to fibrinolysis, obviously you're left with no choice. And especially when you can also shift these patients within an hour or so to nearby center, you can still do it. But probably, ultimately, a fused approach of pharmacology and mechanical therapies could give optimal outcomes to these patients. Thank you very much for patient hearing. I would like to thank all of you who made this recent TCT India Next Function conference successful in Bangalore. It was attended by 1200 plus colleagues, and then request all of you to block next year dates in first week of August. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think a very, very practical approach to the management of ST elevation MI has been given by Professor Srinivas Kumar, right from the level of home or a patient up to a center where tenacity place can be given or where actually primary PCI can be given. He very rightly highlighted the education of the patient and the physician. Some of the patients refuse to accept that they have got a myocardial infarction. They will think of other possibilities, the indigestion, all this, and sometimes the diagnosis will be delayed. Physicians, sometimes they will delay in doing an ECG. They do an ECG, possibly in 1/3 of the cases, the ECG may be inconclusive or normal, so they do not recognize the importance also. So I think it is better to overdiagnose a myocardial infarction rather than missing a case of myocardial infarction. And as he has said, a pharmacoinvasive therapy is extremely important. At least believe me, at my age, at my bedside table, there is always a tablet of aspirin, 80 milligram atorvastatin, and previously all these other antiplatelet agents. I think it is a very practical approach, and I think it was a very eye-opening speech. Thank you very much for this wonderful talk.
Thank you very much.